Today I'm talking with Claire Broadley. She is a content manager for WP Forms, our WP Mail SMTP, and one of our newest products, SendLayer, which helps make sure that your emails get delivered without going to a spam folder. And if you get WP Forms email newsletter, then you've probably seen Claire's name in your inbox. She's been using WordPress since 2006 and has been writing about it since 2010, so she has a lot of experience with writing. And today we'll cover these 7 tips to get traffic to your blog. And then stick around to the end because I'll share with you 2 strategies you can use to share your new blog post that doesn't require a search engine. So let's dive in. So Claire, thanks so much for joining us today on helping new bloggers with writing and coming up with content for their new blog. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for asking me.
Yeah. So one of the first things that, let's just kind of set the stage. You have a new blogger coming in and they know that they want to write about something for their site. And so they want to probably get in and get started. And we're going to say that they already know, they've already got their WordPress website set up and everything else. They're ready to do the content. But before they even start creating the content, do you think that there's something that they should do before they even start with that process?
Yeah, so I think the first thing to do that's helpful is to look at who you're writing for. And you
Mm,
can get an idea by looking at the emails that you've had, if you've got customers already, or your contact form messages, things like that. And really look at what people are asking you about. You can even just make a list of the questions that you get more than once, and then you know what people are asking. Build a kind of an idea of who those people are, what they already know, and what they
mm.
don't know. And it's the things that they don't know are the things that you want to try and think about creating content for.
Oh, I love that because a lot of times I'll just like I want to pass over that and just get to the content. But then when I sit there and start writing the content, I'm like, okay, who am I talking to? So
Yeah.
creating the audience is a really good idea. Thanks for that. And so then, once we have our audience in mind, what would be the next step for that?
So I think the next thing to do is look at your ideas that you've got, think about the people that you're talking to, and try and turn those into things that people are actually searching for. So this comes back to keyword research.
Nice.
So, keyword research, it sounds complicated, but it's basically just turning those ideas that you had into things that people are actually looking for. So, you want to check, are people searching for this? So, if I write about this, are people going to find what I write? And who else is writing about it too? Because you want to try and do it a little bit better than what's already there. So, you can just
Good point.
double check, see what's out there already. We use SEMrush to look up keywords. And it's really
Mhm.
easy because you can put a URL of a competitor site and it will tell you what they're already ranking for. So you can get some ideas. But if you're not ready for SEMrush, you can use something like Answer the Public, and that just gives you questions. So you type in your idea and it will just give you questions that people are searching for, and you can turn those into articles.
Oh, that's perfect. And yeah, we'll have all the links in the show notes for all of these ideas that you're talking about. I have to admit, I love doing keyword research, but I also kind of use it as a bit of a procrastination. And so I'm like always like, I just need to do a lot more research, even though I have like 1,000 keywords together. So to get over that, is there what's the best way to plan out the content so that we're moving on into now we're writing?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think sometimes you get overwhelmed if you have too many ideas, you don't know where to start. So, what I would recommend is something free like Google Calendar or some kind of planner, even just a paper planner or a notebook,
Mm,
and write down some dates that you're going to work on the content and get it into an order, get it into a kind of a schedule for yourself.
mm,
I
mhm.
think sometimes just starting is harder than organizing after that. So once you get started and you have your plan, then it's a lot easier. So I would just pick 1 or 2 days a week, maybe when you don't have so much work to do, and those can
Mhm.
just be your days for writing every week.
Oh, nice. So you just plan for it. Just put it in and get it going. Yeah, that's a good one. Get over that analysis paralysis too.
Yeah.
Cool. So we have the editorial calendar. What would you say are the next steps?
So for each idea, I would get it in your calendar with your keywords. Maybe just write yourself some notes on what you want to write about.
Oh,
And then when you actually get to creating the article, think about when we were talking about what's already out there. So you want to make something that's better than what's already out there. So you want to make your article the best answer to the question. You want to get all of the details in because what you don't want is somebody landing on your article and then they still have a question at the end.
mm,
So they go back
mhm.
and then they look at somebody else's. So you really want to be Although I don't say you want to be going for a big word count, sometimes you don't need to write a lot, but you want to just make sure you get the details and you cover everything so that yours is the best answer to that question.
Okay, I really like that you said don't worry so much about the word count because I've seen a big push where people are just fluffing because they feel like there's a
Hmm.
word count that they're getting to. So thanks for putting that in there. Don't fluff it, but definitely answer it. So cool. So when you're keeping, what do we need to what do we need to do to keep in mind when we're writing all of this content? You know, we have the audience in mind. We did that process, but what else do we need to do for this?
So I think the best thing to do, once you've written everything, try not to worry too much about how it looks. Just write it straight out and then go back. And you want to check that it's easy to read, because most
Mm-hmm.
people don't read from the first word to the last word. They're going to skim, they're going to look for what they want. So you can help them put a lot of space in the article, use lists, use a table of contents, things like that. Use short paragraphs. So if you have a really big block of text, see if you can split it, and it just helps people to find what they want. And then just go through again and make sure that you're not using any words that people won't understand. So anything specific to your industry, if you're not sure people will understand it, see if you can just write it out or provide a link or provide some context so that it's not becoming just a huge wall of text and too technical or too complicated for everyone.
Yeah, I like that. So when we are writing, you know, we always hear about SEO, search engine optimization. At what point do you think in this writing process do we need to start thinking about that?
I think when you've got your keywords in mind, it's a good idea to keep that in mind when you're writing. But the end of the process is really where you can go back, and you don't want to just repeat your keyword over and over, but you want to say, well, have I got variations? Have I got extended the topics a little bit? Have I covered kind of related terms? So for this, I think all in one SEO is great for checking
Mm-hmm.
this, because you
Yeah.
can put your main keyword in and then some additional keywords or ideas, and it will automatically scan what you've written. It will give you a score. It will tell you where to use the keywords, and it
Nice.
will also help you put them in the title and the meta description as well.
Yeah, that's perfect. We had Ben from All in One SEO on recently, a recent episode, and he was talking about that. Don't just because I was like, can't we just put our keyword in like 20,000 times? And he's like, let's not do that. So I like that you're reiterating that part. So, and he also mentioned how about titles. How do you write, and the importance of titles? How do you go about writing a great headline for your title of the article?
So there's a trick in all-in-one SEO for this too,
Oh,
which
okay.
I love, because I think this takes a lot of practice. I think it's really hard to write a really great headline. And the trick is really that you want to use words that make people want to click. And they call power words. So things like best or secret and words like that that make people intrigued. But all in one SEO has a headline analyzer. It will
Yeah.
check that you have those words, and it'll check that your headline is the right length too, which is
Mhm.
important because you don't want it to cut off if it's too long.
And you mean cut off, like, in the search engine rankings?
Yeah, so if your headline is too long, it's going to go over the maximum number of characters, and then the important words at the end might be cut off. So you want to try and
Gotcha.
keep it within the right kind of limits.
Okay. And so we're kinda talking a little bit more about SEO. One of the other things are, creating internal links. How do you handle writing internal links or creating internal links for your article?
It's tricky because I think on WP Forms we have about 600 articles now, and on our other sites we have more than that. So you could go through and add internal links to every article one by one, but if you have 600 posts, it's going to take you a while.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
what we recommend is the Link Assistant and All in One SEO, which we use now, and it will scan your posts and recommend places to add internal links. You don't have to accept everything that it suggests, but it's just a really quick way. You can just click to add the link where you want it.
Mm,
If you don't want it, you don't have to add it. You can go through manually and add them, and definitely when you create a new post, I think it's a good idea to think about adding internal links as you go. But
mm.
having that extra tool to help you if you already have a lot of content and maybe you haven't done a lot of internal linking in the past, it will help you to catch up quicker.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I said it before, the Link Assistant, one of my favorite was to see the orphaned posts because I had a lot of them, and so being able to go through and make sure I have them all, linked out or linked in is really good. So we talked about the block of text and how you really don't wanna do that, but, like, what are some of your favorite items that you add to make a blog post more visually appealing to a reader?
So for our articles, screenshots all the time,
Mhm.
screenshots every few paragraphs,
Awesome.
as many as we can get, because we want to make sure everything that we write about, you can see what we're doing. We're not just saying it, we're actually showing it as well.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to take screenshots. You can get free software to do that. Just upload your images in your blog post. If you don't want to use screenshots, you can get public domain photos and just add those. I like Unsplash for that, but
Yes.
there are a few other sites. And there's also, I don't know if you've seen this, there's a really cool infographic maker on Canva and it's free. You can
Oh,
get a
fantastic.
template and just put your numbers in and it will make you a chart or an infographic and you can use it on your site. So that's a really easy way to make your article look nice.
Oh, nice. So are you saying that now Canva, you don't have to like figure out the template where to put the numbers? It just tells you, give me some numbers and it'll like give you a nice infographic now?
I think it gives you a template with all, so you just put your numbers where you want them, but you can
Oh,
swap the
that's
images out
wonderful.
and stuff so
Hmm.
that the layout is there. All you have to do is type in what you want and it will generate the picture for you.
Oh, that's super helpful, especially for a lot of data intense articles. Awesome. So are there any tips that we haven't talked about that maybe you think are important for our readers or listeners?
Um, I think maybe the most important thing I would say is getting the audience right at the beginning. And then at the end, just, one trick that I know everybody uses in our team, when you finish an article, step away from it for a bit and go back and read it. It will give you a completely fresh look. You will spot
Mhm.
things that you've never seen before. You might see opportunities to put more pictures in and things like that, but it helps you to see things as a new reader would see them so that you can get the best possible chance of getting that traffic.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Claire. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now that you know how to create a blog post that will get traffic for your website, strategy number one that you want to do is set up push notifications for your website. So, by and large, we need to rely on SEO, as we've talked about in several episodes. You want to rely on SEO to get search engines to see your information and see your blog post and share it. But another feature that you can do is to use something like Push Engage. It's a freemium software and we highly recommend it. It allows you to stay in touch with your visitors after they leave your website so that you can bring them back. And it is actually one of the top 5 traffic sources for WP Beginner alone. It lets you send out the notifications after they've left, and it is a little notification that they get. It's really hard for them to miss, and it gets a much higher engagement rate than social media. It's a really cool tactic. It doesn't require people to log into their email to see these notifications either. However, strategy number 2 is to set up an email list and then send what's known as an RSS email campaign. Because a lot of people, they cringe at the idea of having to set up an email list because they don't know what to email their customers or their readers when they do. And so this takes a lot of that burden off of your shoulders. If you set up your email campaign or your email list, you do what's called the RSS feed or really simple syndication feed. That just means the email company that you go through, something like Constant Contact or ConvertKit, can automatically check your website that anytime a new blog post is submitted and gone public or gone live, then it will email that new blog post to your email subscribers. So, two great ways to increase traffic to your site without having to use search engine rankings. All the links that we've talked about, we'll have them in the show notes or in the description below if you're watching on YouTube. And thanks so much for listening.